Hey guys, I'm still depressed. I'm kind of cold out here, and I don't imagine that that's what you all really want to hear about. And it's not what I really want to. It is what I want to talk about, but it's not. I don't want to focus on it. I'm not helping myself already as it is. So maybe this would be good for me to just talk about feelings and life and shit. I don't know. I don't know what this is for. I don't even know if I'm gonna post this. I'm trying to get to the sequel to my pattern vlog #1. At this point, I have a ton of content, and I've been meaning to make it for like 4 or 5 days. Like the very next day after making the first one, I had shit to say for the second one, and then I've been continuing to put bits and pieces together to the point where it might just be too long. But I do need to get off my chest, and really, I'm hoping that making a video and putting out some meaningful content will, help me with my personal situation. Shit. Although I kind of feel like, in general, I shouldn't think of my work like that. Like, I don't. I was talking to God on the way over here, and kind of saying like, yes, there are like spiritual workspaces in which that's how it works. Like you can, do something bad and do something good, and you're redeemed, or do something hard, and I just want to leave that shit behind. I want to get to that place of like perpetual forgiveness. Just living in love every moment, forgiving every moment, and not thinking of I'm gonna do this so that I can do this so that I'm redeemed, or so that I feel better, or whatever. Um, I guess when I'm down, like I do revert to that, and it's not bad. I mean, that's what Christianity is based off of. It's not. I hope this looks beautiful. Like it is beautiful out here. I don't know how well it's being captured. It's hard to say. The screen brightness is not that high. It doesn't go up that high, but it's really nice. So I'll start it. And like I wanted these videos to be just like free thinking, like just kind of off the top of my head, sort of what I'm thinking about. But I kind of feel like I keep being not forced to, like, I do want them to be understood as well. Like, it's not just to get it out there, it's, I'm hoping that there's people that will follow it. And maybe those people are advanced enough that they don't need any background, and I'll just get it, what they need to get from it. But that's probably the case, and I probably should try to keep it free form and off the top of my head. But for this, I've given this so many tries already. I ended up doing some diagrams, kind of, like I said, to like um, follow up, extend what I was talking about last time. So last time I was talking about this figure, um, with like the four spindles of the foreigner's soul like spread out in a manner that looks like crucifixion because of the right angles on the inside and the equal distance of the equal length of each spindle. But I've also started giving the spindles names according to hands, which is maybe kind of confusing because one of the things I'm going to say in a few minutes is that I think I can reduce all this to left and right, like the traditional paths, and um, think of it. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's definitely useful for something, but I don't really know what. To think of the spindles as having handedness like that. So, this I was talking about as like a orientation, or like a configuration to hold oneself or see oneself in, to facilitate moving toward fiveness, like up, capital up, capital U in this case. So like following your heart's desire, going towards enlightenment, going towards physical fiveness. And so I've been thinking a lot more about this, kind of as other. I've been connecting this to other things that I've recently also been thinking about. So I'm gonna kind of go fuck these figures. I'm gonna go out of order and tell you like what I feel like is the most promising like reason that figure is good. Okay, so these are diagrams of like maybe a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think I've only put it on Twitter, so not many people have seen them. But it's like a new 3-state or 3-phase model of um, kind of a simplified model of the pattern that we need to be, the part of the pattern that we need to be focused on. So this is a kind of elemental, abstract, kind of metaphorically useful ideas. Sea, sky, sun. 3 phases. But they correspond to stuff I've already been talking about. Fourness, where we live now. Fiveness, next dimension up. Dimensionality of fairy. Not quite sure yet how those are going to be joined. But, and then sun, I'm not really going to talk about sun much. So, my point is that I realized that this, and remember, there's a 5th spindle, like, coming out of that, like, I think of as behind the page, like, upward, so pointing up. So that's part of why this is useful for that. So, what I was thinking of is that this is a raft floating on the surface of the sea, and floating on the surface of the sea, and then the 5th spindle, the hemp spindle, is like a mast coming out of it. So this is like conjures the image of being right on the edge of fiveness, and kind of, projecting up, poking up into it, kind of sitting at the interface there. And I think that position plus orientation plus its stability over time describes enlightenment. But the funny thing about, dimensions is really like anywhere in here, because I'm going to switch back to the other one. Like, because the sea is fourness, any point in the sea, anywhere in here, is actually right at that line. Like, fiveness abuts on one side, every point in fourness. Like, think about how a triangle is one of the sides of a tetrahedron, and like if you're thinking of um, like if you're a 3D being living in that triangle, like anywhere you move, you're never out of contact with fiveness. And really, the only well, there's two things. The only thing that can make you further or closer is orientation. Are you facing towards fiveness or are you facing out? So, upspin or downspin. And also, like, you can kind of curl up inside yourself and, like, hide yourself from fiveness. And that is kind of, I think the C analogy is really good because it shows that you can still be deeper and darker, even though we're all like as in touch or close to fiveness or to that boundary as anyone. We're all equally positioned like that. And yet, if we take on more spiritual ballast, it'll make us heavier, and like it gives the impression of like being deeper down there, and like suffering more, and living closer to hell and shit like that. So yeah, I'm thinking of it as a raft, and I wanted to point out that, and I don't have any physical models of this, but that like this, the appearance of like right angles is very easily obtainable just like with a force spindle on its own. Like, just you can turn it around and make it so that you have any configuration of the individual spindles and hold it so that it just looks like a cross, like right angles. Although, of course, like one pair is facing toward the viewer, the angle, and one is facing away. So, like one's, so they don't look like the same length when you do that. But like that's kind of, I think, all that this is. Like, insofar as like there's too much wind. So that's kind of all I think that this is like an orientation aid. So like, how can you position the four spindles of your Fornus soul such that they're optimally guiding you or facing you towards fiveness. And so this is kind of like an optical illusion, and it's also kind of just like a help for the metaphor, like to add into this to the sea metaphor, like making it a raft by making it flat. But like, in reality, it's still a force spindle. So, yeah, so it's about orientation. So I figured out that this is actually wrong as far as what goes where, and at least for me. So I was just starting at left, going left, right throughout the minutes, just alternating, going around. And I realized that, well, I've known that my physical brokenness, which is like pretty much all of my brokenness at this point, I think of as like, one metaphysical thing, but like like it settles into my body, like that the part that's hardest to get rid of for me, and that I still haven't um, mastered not having, is the changes in my body, and it was a lot of things. It was like I swallowed my throat. It was like I recursed inside of myself, like lung inside lung, and it was I lost all the tension from um, my abdomen, like the kind of like a knot or a linchpin that was holding me together, like keeping me going, allowing me to have drive, keeping my personality together. I don't know, like a linchpin somewhere in my abdomen got loose. Like it was a loosing of tension, and my digestion slowed, and my breathing got all whacked, and and just slower and like less natural, and like it affected like my body on deep levels. And then as time progressed, and I kind of accrued more error, it affected my spine a lot. It still does. Like I still have to kind of I don't know, but it all comes back to my throat. Like I think it's fundamentally a throat chakra problem, an expression problem. Um, and what I have learned over the years of dealing with this, or trying to understand it, is that my basically I have a second body that is like reversed compared to mine, like facing backwards. Like not, I don't think reversed in all axes, but like that, like half of me is like thrust behind me, kind of like into me, like my brokenness is like um, undercutting or eating away at my primary body, and it looks a lot like the recursive force spindle model that I showed in one of my videos. I don't have that with me right now, but like painful alternating. It's like an infinite. I want to say regress, but it's an infinite recursion, but like a one that alternates between two types or two states. Like a light and a dark or something, and it's painful because each successive deeper recursion like eats away at the higher, the one that it was formed out of. So I didn't expect to talk about all that, but I figured you all would want to know what I was talking about. There's no reason to be opaque. Um, so anyway, so like 3 or 4 days after the transition, the 11/11 transition that just happened, like I tweeted something about like I I see control over feeble left and right in favor of Threlton Mist, 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 Mist. Um, and so I was thinking like, now that I have these new hands that I know about and can be like trying to learn how to use, or that I know that they're there and I can rely on them, and they're a higher order of hands than the ones that I have now. And I'm not just talking about hands. I'm talking about chiral paths, magical paths, pathways. Um, but so I was just thinking, like, well, fuck the left. Like this shit is whack. I don't need to use it anymore. Like, which I've mostly come to already. Like, I think there are rare occasions when I need to use the left. Um, and I definitely shouldn't use it for its magic ever. But like, I realized that I could, now that I had identified at that point 4, I could do that with both of them. So like, left is throat like, and right is mist like. So like because they're in the same series, like, odd hands, even hands, and I think that that's reasonable, but I think it's wrong. Like, I think that taking into account my brokenness, I need to reverse it. Taking account into my brokenness, and also knowing that my psychological homosexuality has been invaluable to my uh, ability to think about recursion and kind of naturally understand. Um, what I'm saying is that it was natural for me to say, um, well, let the left like one take control of the left, and let the right like one take control of the right. And I think it would actually be better to. My intuitions led me to believe that I uh, was mistaken in that, because um, in my brokenness state there is, an unnecessary like twist, like a crossing within me that like brings about that secondary body that eats into my primary body, or secondary wave that eats into eating into each other, but like, you know what I mean. So so basically, I should swap that. Like, let Miss take care of left, and or work with left, and let Throughout work with right, and that actually makes a lot of sense in another way, or really in two different ways, um, because okay, so this is what I originally did: left, right, throughout, missed. This is what I've done. This is how I've changed it: left, throughout, right, missed. Um, so now, like, these two have a direct connection in their unit. No, I guess they already did. No, okay, so yeah. Now the left and midst and the throughout and right have a direct connection. And that makes sense in a different way that I think kind of has more going for it. It's more complex. It's more layers of meaning, because um, so and this is very personal for like, I don't know if this is generalizable, but like, use of my left hand path, particularly in drug experiences, has led to the strengthening of my missed hand path. Like, I've gained, I guess, arcane metaphysical knowledge, largely by relying on my left. And I've only made a conscious effort to stop doing that like 6 months ago. Like, this is very recent. And right and throat actually, like, kind of blend together, like, like, orthodoxy, harmony with God, being in the moment, service, being the Christ, being perfect forgiveness, being perfect love, offering love, seeking out the fallen. It's kind of like the right just blends right into throat. And I don't really quite see it doing quite that for this, but like, that I don't really understand that one as well. But what I'm saying is there's like a naturalness in that pairing, of even with God. odd with even. And there's another thing, which is that how I had it the other way, like it only made sense to go around it like that. Like it only made sense to alternate around in this with it counterclockwise. Left, right, throughout, midst, like left, midst, throughout, right. That doesn't really make sense, you know? Like the pairs are the same, but like the ordering isn't the same. The ordering doesn't make sense because you're going first order, second order, first order. Whereas for this one, there's a sensible interpretation of both spin chiralities around this image, this flattened crucified image of a force symbol. So left, throughout, right, missed. This is ascending like orders of magnitude. First order odd, second order odd, first order even, second order even. So they are kind of extending each other, or like in the other side, the pairs are on the opposite sides, but in this side they're on the outside, so that they can easily kind of extend each other. And then the two pairs that I described on the outside, how that makes sense, but also going around, there's a certain sense. Wait, is there? There is. I'm just trying to remember. Left, missed, right, throughout. So left giving rise to missed, which in my life path I share as my right. My life goal, service to the world, is sharing this knowledge from the missed path, and then the right. I guess that would be like powering the Christ in me and using that power to keep in keep this supported, because this guy's the guy that's gonna fail out of all of these. So keeping him supported, loved, on track, whatever, in check, you could even say. And then let me see if I can do a better job in the other direction. So that actually had one other thing I doodled that I cut out, but this, yeah, let me just, these are not bad descriptors. It's a little, fuzzy, but this is what I was just explaining, and then I'll go back. So, practice of the left yields knowledge in the midst, which I share through the right, and the right, in order to do its job of sharing and service, seeks out or serves throughout, and throughout chases love to offer, chases left to offer it love and support. But let me go back and see about the other direction. So, left left changes chirality in like a reflective manner to become throughout. So left is kind of converted, transmuted into throughout, and then throughout. I'm probably overthinking this. I mean, it's the same relationships. Like throughout offers kind of guidance and forgiveness and orientation to the work of right, and then right like, right, unified, like, globally, like, becomes, the use of our right hand paths properly as humanity altogether, kind of charge it up for that opening into fiveness that is accomplished in Mist. Because I don't know if I mentioned that Mist, like, this is early stages, but like, the magic of Mist is that is, like, arbitrarily vast changes to form and structure, but time invariant. So, like, not changing, like, not depending on time, not depending on the structure, the flow of time, but still, like, producing changes in state or structure. And then completing it, Mist up. What does Mist do for left? I mean, I almost want to. What does this do for left specifically? Like, I know that from left's point of view, that's like the inspiring, like seeking the high. You know, what are you chasing after? So the other thing, though, is that transformation that I just spoke of, mediated by Mist, um, is relieves the left hand path of suffering. You know, like, it gets rid of the negative feedback that causes the left suffering. So that's one way of looking at it. And I know I was really pushing myself there. I don't know what y'all think about it. I mean, I don't know if anyone even watched it. I hope people watched it. Okay, and yeah, I just have a little bit more, so go for it. So now this is my sigil for the orthoplex, which is usually synonymous with the Christ, although not really as strictly as I thought before, but like, I usually use them interchangeably in my mind. So this is Christ. This is the orthoplex. This is Thrall's Hand Path. This is Cycle of Redemption and shit. So, and obviously these sigils are very related. And like, when I was receiving this one for the first time last week, there were various ways that I was ending up with this, and one of them was like, you know, putting that square onto this, and then like having the edges like folded behind or cropped over to make it like a stable diamond square shape. So I've been looking for, and I didn't get into as much of this as I thought, but my buddy Grimhood on Twitter like has been guiding or supporting me in discovering discovering and like learning to use the ability of my heart to create an energetic shield around me to keep me safe spiritually, and that has proven a very valuable endeavor so far, um, in a number of ways, like both in the intended way, but also with a lot of kind of side effect breakthroughs that have been happening in my meditation sessions when I'm working with this. I still have a long way to go. I was using the shape of the bud that I was in before the transition as the shield shape, and that was like really easy and like obvious and stable and effective. But then then the bud bloomed. So like I realized like, that was a kind of stupid choice. Although it wasn't really a choice; it was just a discovery to make it that shape. So looking for. I've been looking for better shapes, and I kind of feel like it would be too much of a digression at 36 minutes to like talk about what I was like the first shape that I thought of that kind of led me down the path of what I'm talking about now. Um, I should talk to Grim about that directly, but I do want to say that since discovering this, I and really actually the moment in which I came up with like, oh, it's like a raft is you know put it together and what have you got? Bippity boppity boop. So like it's me. I mean, it's our soul in the same orientation that I just described so thoroughly, and like floating at the top, which is to say, really just facing straight into fiveness, with that mast on the other side. But it's got the ring around it now, and that ring is Christ, um, or I should say, the Christ of fourness. Like it doesn't look the same from above. I'm pretty sure, um, but all that I needed to really be shielded for, is to be in fourness, because like there's nothing to be shielded from in fiveness. Like there's nothing dangerous. Um, so so basically, like this is all 2D, but standing in for 3D. So like this is a raft with bumpers, basically, which I think could also prevent you from harming other people. Like I think of all of us as we wake up, like turning into these rafts, all floating at the top, and it'll be kind of um, just as kind of very crowded up there, and like thinking of these as little literal bumpers would probably really help avoid a lot of people hurting each other accidentally just by proximity and shit. But it also suggests, well, basically, I decided that I think I should visualize or focus on this entire shape for my shield. Like, I should picture the entire raft, including the mast, including the sails coming off the mast, um, and just focus on shielding the foreness part, because that, like I said, that's the part that needs it. And of course, in foreness, this would be a sphere around a force spindle. So, um, and that kind of like that's the simplest shape you could think of it for a shield. I just wanted to make it. I was kind of engineering it, I guess, but I think that it doesn't really need to be more complicated than just like a sphere that encloses all of me. So, so that's my game plan for practicing developing that shielding technique. And that's all I gotta say. Thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for bearing with me about my emotional trouble at the beginning too. I love you.